You might want to back up a bit.
Wow, this is a very detailed program.
What's up, lore masters? With the very first episode of Star Trek Lower Decks out, we can finally take a look at the newest iteration of Discovery-era Trek. And after watching the series premiere their best foot forward, it's fine. Decent. Good even. It's one of the few times I can say that I looked at a Disco-era Trek episode and wanted to watch it because I was curious and intrigued, not because it's my job. I suppose what makes this episode more interesting is the space in which it inhabits. That they are becoming a bit more niched and have created properties that are aiming at markets today. That's not surprising necessarily, given that if you want to make money, you have to go for what you think will work, but it's still different. However, this decision has meant that a lot of the shows they are creating are geared towards a different kind of Trekkie. So, when they bring in a show like Lower Decks, it'll stand out among the crowd. As I stated before, it's actually good in that regard. It's well made and it's competent in what it does. However, it honestly isn't fantastic or wondrous, it's fine. But I wouldn't be surprised if it felt like an absolute breath of fresh air to those who have hated Star Trek Discovery as well as Star Trek Picard. The show is an adult cartoon and thus will have those types of tropes and expectations for the genre, but it is, as far as the first episode goes, kept to a more legacy feel. If you like Star Trek The Next Generation, Star Trek Deep Space Nine, Star Trek Voyager, and you like Orville, then you'll probably enjoy this series, or at least the first episode. But let's talk about the series proper. Well, what we can, at least. We can't really be sure of what it ultimately will be. We're only looking at the first episode after all, but let's see.
Set lasers to start! Oh, man. So, where are you quartered?
We do kind of have an idea on what they're going for, at least for now. Unlike what was feared, the characters are actually pretty well thought out, with no one character having any real dominion over the other. They are all specific character types that we've seen in the past, that's true. You have a sassy, street-smart character that used to play it by the book, but found out that you can help more people in the lower decks than you really can on the bridge. And then there's the young ensign who idolizes anyone who steps foot on that bridge, the guy who knows where everything is on the ship and believes that he has a bright future as a captain one day. He wants it extremely badly. And then there's the quirky, soft-spoken character that loves what he does, but tries to fit in so much that he'll have fish-out-of-water experiences, as well as the character that I am quite confident will be a waifu of mine one day. Again, none of these character types are particularly new, nor inventive. Their personality traits are definitely a way of Lower Decks playing it safe, but they are decent traits with none of them taking over the other. They also don't denigrate any specific person. The comedy and the characters are respected in my opinion, kind of like what we see in Orville. When it comes to the storyline so far, all one of them, it does appear to be self-contained with no overall arc that I can tell. This, again, is more attributive of Legacy Trek and gives us a bit of an idea of the experience we're going to have. One thing that might turn people off is perhaps the humor. However, allow me to be beyond clear. As of the upload of this video, any joke you see in Lower Decks is also on Orville. The humor is comparable, if not having some of the exact same jokes as that series. The only reason you may not like it in Lower Decks is that you think it doesn't land as well as it did in Orville, or you just don't like cartoons. It is interesting to me that people say they want Legacy Trek and that Orville should be a part of the Star Trek universe, and when they do something like that, all of a sudden it doesn't land, but we're not going to get into that. Because it's similar jokes, if not the same jokes, Orville objectively does not have better quality humor. However, it is true that this is all coming through a cartoon, as I stated. That might be off-putting to you and why you think that it lands differently. You could, in theory, believe that it's just not good based on that fact. I disagree, but I admit that this is subjective taste. Of course, you're subjectively wrong. I have to admit that it is hard for me not to become more and more disenfranchised with the fandom menace movement, and especially some of the more hardcore channels like that of Midnight's Edge. It's pretty apparent in recent days, if not months, of my disdain for their methods because as of right now, I think their opinions on Star Trek really betrays what the Coalition truly believes. Some Fandom Menace channels, Midnight's Edge included, don't hate something for any specific reason, they just hate it because it's new and it's different. They don't like different, they want legacy. And that's regardless of what Fandom Menace originally was meant to be. There are also some channels out there that aren't fandom menaced but are more purist, and they don't like this property either. I haven't really seen the videos that have been brought to my attention, but I'll say this. TNG, Deep Space Nine, Voyager, the original series, guys, they're never coming back. What they were and what form they took, that's gone. If you can't let that go, then you're not going to be happy with any new Star Trek property you come upon. Star Trek Lower Decks is good. It's, in my opinion, a 7, perhaps an 8 out of 10 right now. The way it's made, its story beats, and what it's trying to do means that it likely won't have a significant role on this channel if I'm being honest. It simply doesn't delve too deep into the lore, and that's what the point of this channel is, at least for right now. Perhaps that will change as time goes on. Whether that be changes to the channel or changes to the series is up to anyone's guess. I will say this. For those who enjoy Star Wars Clone Wars and think that Ahsoka is the best non-Jedi to ever exist, the beginning of Lower Decks is like the beginning of Clone Wars with Ahsoka, except done much, much better. If they continue this upward trajectory, this series will be the Clone Wars of Star Trek. I fully believe that. But all of these are my opinions. What are yours? Let me know in the comments below.